All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome, hobby friends. Welcome to Hobby Hotline. This is episode 304 of Hobby Hotline. I'm your host, Logan Ward, and with me today is from Let Me Get That Potograph, Mr. Drew Herndon. Hey, Drew, how you doing?
What's going on, man? Good to be here. Good to be back.
Yep, glad to see you. And the man who needs no introduction and who is the Han Solo of the hobby,
Yes.
Mr. Uncle Rich Klein. How you doing, man?
And
And I
happy
see that
belated
I see
birthday.
I typoed uncle and I'm UNLCE. So
And happy belated birthday, Rich,
thank
by the
you.
way.
We went to the Frisco Rough Riders game, and
Nice.
it was an afternoon game. Game was over real quickly. It's much better now. Even the minor league games are so much better with the pitch clock and all the
Yep.
stuff. And with my wife's past medical history, it's funny now, but for a few minutes it wasn't so funny. The game ended at 2:37, but her blood
Yeah.
sugar, because it got so hot and she didn't hydrate enough, her blood sugar was 238. And I go,
Yeah.
she goes, 238. I go, that's not so bad. I thought they were just talking about the time. She goes, no, that's my blood sugar. It turned out the time was within a minute of her blood sugar. It's like by the time we got home, her blood sugar was back to 171. 171, air conditioning, liquid, and it was normal. But it's a good object lesson. If you have blood sugar issues and it's hot outside,
Yeah.
keep
Oh, yeah.
hydrated. But it was great going to the game. We got free tickets, actually. We were standing online to buy tickets. Somebody goes to me, oh, you must be over 55, and will you fill out this card for this senior health care type of place? Sure. Okay, here are 2 free tickets. Okay, that makes life a lot easier.
Hey, take it, man.
Take it.
Take
I took it very happily,
I
and
would
we
too.
sat by the bullpen, and I got to explain how you could see how the roles of the bullpen were doing. And it was
Yeah.
fascinating watching how, and I said in the minor leagues, they do it more truly by pitch count, and they don't really want the starting pitcher to go, let's say, more than 90 pitches, and
Yeah.
then not have
Yeah.
roles. And yes, they want to win the games, but they also want to develop
Sure. Yeah.
players for the majors. So it was fascinating to see how they were developing pitchers to the majors. And speaking of pitchers to the major, Logan is going to bring up our first topic because it really involves the major leagues.
Yeah,
Yes.
real quick, I do want to say happy birthday to Rich. He is 101 years old this week.
Yes. 101.
Way to go, Rich.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, I thought I'd spring that one on you guys. Yeah, so we got a
Uh,
lot to talk about today. We got a whiz bang show for y'all. But the first thing that
Whiz
I'd like to talk about would be Series 2 Topps Baseball that came out this week.
yes.
So some pretty cool stuff. What do you like about it, Drew?
Oh man, all right. So the design, first of all, everyone who has listened to any of my shows knows that I really hated the design when it first came out. The design's actually growing on me a little bit. I still wish they didn't use 20 fonts on the front, but too little, too late. The design's growing on me a lot, and what they did in Series 2, I thought was brilliant. Series 2, outside of a couple of years, there's always exceptions, but outside of a couple of years, it's normally Series 1 and then update. Series 2 a lot of times gets it's an afterthought with maybe a rookie in there or two, but not as many as one or update because they seem to be holding players back a lot to put them in those two sets. This year, they realized they were going to have a strong rookie class, but what they've done with the fun face error with the holiday, which is absolutely brilliant. I think that's just absolutely genius. I don't know if I want to know the story behind it. If he wrote it on his bat as a joke to them and then they decided to make errors, or was this all planned from the beginning to, pay homage to a Fleer card, which I think is crazy that they're paying homage to a Fleer card.
Yeah,
But I love all of the different variations they did on that. I love the fact that they did the women in baseball set, which we'll touch on in a minute. And I also love the inclusion of the Wemby Stroud duels, the fact that they limited those to 11. And then I like that they put in, Wemby and CJ Stroud autos as well. Of course, you got to hope you actually get your sticker on your CJ Stroud autograph,
Mm.
as they messed a couple of those up, it looks like. But I love what they did. I love the unannounced parallels. I think it's one of the best Series 2 releases I found in a long time. I just hope they don't jack the box prices up and make it not a flagship type of price anymore.
Well, Drew, when it comes to the price point, won't that at
Yeah.
some point actually be decided by the consumer? Because
No, it will, and that's where I'm hoping people just eventually let it stay. I mean, well, Fanatics is gonna put it out there no matter what for breakers and everything. So I mean, breakers are gonna break it at one level, and then hopefully people still treat it like it is flagship. But I do love what they've added in. I mean, they added in the golden mirrors last year. They're back this year. No bounty on them this year, of course, but just those cards in general, I think I love what they're doing with the flagship brand. And, there's the unannounced parallels, the throwbacks to the F face card. I love it. I think it's brilliant. They just got to get a lot better when it comes to, it's nice to watch them say on the back of the card that a representative watched them sign the card. Let's have a rep actually watch them put the sticker on the card. But,
well, I without getting into that, they're still learning. They own
yes,
the
they
printing
are.
presses now, and they're
Yes,
still
they
learning.
do.
And I had once suggested that you actually do something the old school way, just like a doctor does with a surgery, or an airplane pilot does and they have a checklist, and it could be handwritten, it could be you print it out, and every time you do something, you check it off, and it's okay.
Yeah,
Everything's been
it's
done,
simple.
and that may save some
Yeah.
of these production. We seem to have a production error in every set, and I think that's still a little bit of the inexperience of the people running the production press, because the people at GCI, they've been doing it for 25, 30 years,
Oh, yeah,
and
definitely.
you don't just step in and do something. And I know this from experience. I know this from my Beckett days. I know this from my ComC days. And even though you don't throw somebody into the deep water in the job I did at Beckett, or I'm doing at ComC, without some training and without
Right.
some ways to doing it. So I
No,
think a
I
little
agree.
of that will help. But Drew, I think you hit on a really good point. Series
What's
2
that?
has always been treated as the redheaded stepchild.
Yep.
It's great that they are adding
Mhm.
innovations to Series 2, good innovations.
Yeah. There's anticipation for Series 2. There never is.
Yeah.
There never is.
I know. I'm thinking, hey, maybe I need to go to Walmart or Target today and buy a blaster box just to have some fun. I
I
probably
mean,
won't,
Hughes
but
and I are going to Walmart as soon as this show's over. We're headed to Walmart. If they have any, I know I'm going to grab some just because.
So, real quick, you're talking about the Jackson Holiday card and the fun face and all that. I heard that they're going to have a black box variation. Have you guys heard about that?
Yeah, apparently they did. From my understanding, they did every variation that he has because they
Oh,
have the
wow.
saw cutout die cut. They've got the white. They've got the white box. They've got the scribble. Apparently, there's going to be a black box too. From my understanding, they did every variation that is on the original card. My question, really, that I want to know to you guys is: are you surprised that Topps did such a paid homage to a Fleer card? Because Topps has such a rich history. They could have found any other card. It wouldn't have been as funny, I don't think, but they could have found any card they wanted, really, and done some iconic throwback to well, that'd be Upper Deck, but any Topps card that's known with an error. But having him do a Fleer card's kind of interesting, considering, people associate Fleer with Skybox and Skybox is with Upper Deck. It's kind of weird to see Topps, doing
Yeah.
that type of air. I love it, but it's a little odd. What do you guys think?
Well, I will say this. I have heard that they're going to have like a rainbow kind of deal for the Jackson Holiday card. In fact, I've got some pictures of it. Check it out. They're going to have a black box. They're going to have a red, orange, yellow, green,
Oh, wow.
blue, and purple box. And then there's one with the Fanatics logo on there. And if you pull that one, I think you get a ride in Michael Rubin's limo.
Is Michael Rubin in the limo, or do I get to just take it and go have
No,
fun?
you just get to take it. So yeah, collect the rainbow.
That's crazy. Okay, because see, I saw the scribbled out versions and stuff like that, but I did not see the Chase the Rainbow Skittles design on the bat knobs.
And that's a great comment. Fleer isn't really a card company today,
Right.
So what's wrong with? We've always paid homage to back in the day cards. I mean, I remember in 1991 when Fleer did some set. Oh, and we started looking at it. Oh, that looks like some set from 1911. So it was one of the insert sets, and it had. So you always pay homage to things that may not be Topps or Fleer or Donruss. So what's wrong?
I agree. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I completely agree with you. I'm just surprised to see Top to do it, because normally they pay homage to cards of their own in the past, and they have so many iconic cards of their own. It's just interesting that they went this route, in my opinion, just
Right.
because
And
they normally like to celebrate their own history, because take a pick, there's thousands that they could choose from, I mean, so
Topps has
that's
done
why it was a
Cracker
little.
Jack, as Cooter pointed out, T206, T205.
Right.
They haven't always just done Topps. So Fleer is certainly not a competitor right now.
I agree 100%.
So why not?
I just thought it was interesting.
You know what I'd like
I
to
just
see?
thought it was interesting to see a Fleer card being done as opposed to any of the various Topps cards that could have
How
been
about
used.
posing the guy with a surfboard like the 88 Tim Flannery card, or the snake like the 84 Glenn Hubbard card? Or was it
love
Mickey
it.
Hatcher with a big hat? I mean, I think they've done other cards with big hats, but I think that's nothing wrong with using cool cards from the past. 63 Fleer, when Topps didn't have Maury Wools under contract, the 63 Maury Wools has in the lower left corner 62 National League MVP. Isn't that cool to put on a corner of a card for whoever wins the MVP in the National League or American League or Cy Young? And you don't even have to do an honor. You just put that on the card.
Yeah. No, 100%. I love it.
Yeah, Cooter is talking about the same thing we're talking about. He says T206s weren't produced by Topps, yet they used the design. They saw the marketing opportunity and they took it. So yeah, totally.
Well,
agree
yeah,
with
they found that no one had the IP. They found that they could use the IP and license it out, and they were able to make a set. I mean, companies do it all the time. Brian Gray buys
Upper
up.
Deck did Gowdy about 15 years ago when they still had a baseball license.
Yeah,
and
I mean, Brian Gray's a perfect example. I don't know when he left Leaf if he gave Leaf everything that he had, but he owns countless IP, companies. That's why he brought back ProSet, because he had to, or he'd lose it. But he owns, or did own, quite a few of them. So there's nothing. I wasn't saying there was anything wrong with it. It was just interesting to me to see that card of all cards being redone this year. I get the Oriole, connection a little bit. And maybe that's all it was. But, it's just Topps normally likes to celebrate their own history. But I love it. I think it was a brilliant idea. I think it's a cool chase card. I think there's way too many parallels now that I saw the Chase the Rainbow part. I kind of liked it when there was just the original, scribbles and stuff like that. I don't think we need all of the colors, but hey, who knows?
Can I throw a funny hobby history story at you all?
Go for it.
Okay. When Topps announced, in those days when Topps 20, 22, 23, 20 years ago, when Topps was doing Topps T206, then Topps T205, then Topps Cracker Jack, their leading purchaser of those original cards was Kit Young. kids started putting out buys on various networks, at, various news groups at the time. I'm looking for all your T206s or all your T205s.
Oh yeah.
So we contacted Tops and we said, when is Cracker Jack coming out? And they said, what do you mean? Your primary buyer is just putting a buyout for Cracker Jack cards. That set is coming. We sped up we sped up when I was back at the official release of when Topps was announcing their thing we screwed up their entire publicity campaign because we were able to say, you're going to do it. You might as well announce it now because otherwise we'll do it for you.
Yeah.
And it was legitimate journalism. It wasn't like,
right. Yeah.
I mean, hey,
yeah.
He's buying the cards. He's the buyer for Topps.
There you go.
It doesn't take, this is not investigative journalism. This is
no
click. Okay. Oops. Okay. Yeah, we're okay.
Yeah. So a lot of cool stuff with Series 2. I do want to hear what they do say about those CJ Strouds, as I've seen countless of them now without the autograph on it. I hope Topps comes out and does something for those people. Seems like they've been doing a good job lately of fixing mistakes. There's been a lot of them to fix, but they've done a good job of fixing those mistakes. So hopefully they fix these. But Series 2 looking like a lot of fun for once, at least.
Hey, I'm all in to at least get a blaster box at some point.
Same here. Maybe a hanger. Hangers or bangers.
Yeah.
That's what the kids say.
So also within Series 2, we've got the women in baseball.
Yes.
So I think that's really awesome what they've done there. And here's a picture. It's a 5-card subset.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about that, Rich? What are your thoughts?
I'm a big fan. Hey, remember, Topps wants to 10x the hobby. And, you don't do 10x by going from 0 to 100 in 3.2 seconds.
Yeah.
Women are 51% of the world's population, or 52 or more. It's more than 50%. Anything that can help get more women buying cards, I'm all in favor of them. We've had women in the past on our hobby hotline, and I think Erica may still be with us. And so I'm a big fan of having more women collectors, period. And if this is an impetus to get more women collectors, let's go for it.
Yeah.
Well,
So
also, just from being at 2 shows in the last weekend in Indy and in Detroit, there were a lot of women collectors there that were there by themselves, that were not there with their boyfriend that was there collecting or things like that. There were a lot of people there that were genuinely collecting, that were submitting cards to PSA through our Gem Mint booth. Like, there's a lot more in the industry, especially online as well. The online community is going way past just women wanting to do content creation and being legitimate collectors that are just in rooms making trades. I just made a trade the other day with someone who's been in the hobby maybe 6 months. That's a woman that trade went flawless. It was awesome. I think it's great that Topps is, highlighting important people, important women that have had an impact on the game in baseball, especially since they've kind of shown you now that the new way it's going to be, at least until they get the licenses, all the licenses, and own everything, they're going to mix different stuff in as much as they can. They're not afraid to throw other sports, other things, just other subsets, whatever they want into these sets. And so I think Series 2 is a perfect spot to throw these in. I think it's better than throwing it in something like Big League. I like seeing it in Series 2. I think it's great. We'll see how it goes on the secondary market and things like that. But a great choice for the first 5. And we'll see if they keep it going. I think they should.
I will also point out that I'm going to call it our sister publication, Hobby News Daily. We have several lady writers, and they're all really good.
Phenomenal. There's some phenomenal articles up by those ladies this month.
Yeah, so I mean, it was great reading about the Dallas Card Show I did not know her, but from a young lady's perspective that I had never, that I don't remember because I don't know everybody in the main room, even though I like to think I do.
Yeah. No, I'm
So-
right there with you.
So, real quick, I did a little bit of digging to find out more about these women. Real quick, Alyssa, I think it's Nakan or Nakin. She is the very first ever full female full time coach in the Major League Baseball, and she is an assistant coach for the San Francisco Giants. So that's pretty neat.
Interesting.
And Veronica Alvarez is the USA Women's Baseball National Team
Yeah.
Manager, and she's the newly appointed Girls Baseball Ambassador for the Major League Baseball. And Jessica
Nice.
Mendoza, she is a Team USA softball Olympian and ESPN reporter who became the first female analyst for nationally televised Major League Baseball games. And Rachel Folden, she is the Chicago Cubs hitting coordinator. That's pretty neat right there. I like that. And Ronnie Gajownik is a high A manager for the Hillsboro Hops. So that's what all these ladies are doing right now.
Very nice. I got a special guest here who wants to say hi. Camera's right there.
Hey,
What's up, buddy?
not much.
What's up?
Not much. I wanted to show them my new edit.
Well, we're in the middle of a
No,
live
let him
show
show
now.
it. That's fine.
All
Yeah,
right, show
We
up the
definitely
new
want to
edit
see
real
that.
quick, bud.
The camera?
Yep, that's the camera.
Oh, wow.
You goofball. All right, so that's my son, everybody.
Well, it is Father's Day weekend. So
Yeah,
there
so-
you go.
It is.
So we
Summer
can-
and Father's Day
you know,
weekend.
That's a great transition. I know we didn't plan it, but I think I'd love to see in the chats too some of the comments about what if anything your father did to help you with your collecting or other things like that.
Yeah, or what you're doing with your children for sure.
Yeah.
So
Or
yeah,
what you do with your children. Yes.
yeah, I can start off real quick with that. My influence with my dad in collecting, he actually took me to Woolworths to buy my very first packs of baseball cards in 1971. I can still remember it. I had a quarter, and I went into Woolworths. We were out doing errands, and the kids next door had started collecting cards, and I asked my dad, I said, "Can we stop at Woolworths? I'd like to see if they have baseball cards and I can buy them." So I went in there, got me a couple packs because it said 10 cents on the box. I got up to the checkout, and the lady only charged me a nickel a pack. So I went back and got a couple more packs and ended up with like 4 packs of baseball cards for a quarter. So that was my very first, pack, experience with my dad.
Very
And
nice.
And I once wrote when my dad passed, and because I was still at Beckett at the time, and I wrote about him in terms of we would go occasionally to the stores, or the card stores. There were actually card stores by the 70s, and we'd go. And I was writing the errors and variation column, and they had found the 49 Bowman Johnny Mize variations for me. They knew I liked stuff like that, so they put that away for me, and it was just fun because I used that as a way to write the article. Just one of the many ways he influenced how I collect and how I do things. And he'd be with me at the shows, a lot of the shows in the New York area in the 80s, and we had a lot of fun together. It was business. He had been a vest pocket stamp and coin dealer, or what we would call a weekend warrior, way back in the day with stamps and coins. And a lot of what I learned from him in terms of how to deal with people, how to have fun, and don't take it so seriously. It's money, but guess what? You should also have fun with it.
No, yeah, I completely agree. Well, it's kind of twofold with me right now. Luckily, my dad's still with me and everything, and my dad was very influential in my card collecting growing up. I remember my parents were always divorced, so I was always going back from whether it was Mississippi or Florida to North Carolina to visit him. And every time we'd go to the mall, which had an awesome card shop in it, and that's really where I got my introduction into cards when I was a little kid. And that ended up being the only place I wanted to go when I came into town. Luckily, we live in a small town, so there wasn't much else to go to anyway. But there was a card shop here. And that's really what got me started throughout it. And he was always very supportive of it. And he was a collector himself, not in a big way, but a decent amount. And now with Jude, he's sports cards not so much yet, but Pokemon cards, and he's real big into autographs. We go to a lot of minor league games and things like that. The Hickory Crawdads, I think, all know him by name. So I kind of try and pass that down and bring him into the world of the hobby, and he seems to love it with Pokemon, all his friends and everything like that. But it's also taught him a lot about, he's trading, he's learning the stuff I do in the business. He's wanting to go work Collecticons with me next year when I think he's finally old enough, and I think it's wonderful to see the younger generation and how passionate they are about the hobby, because they really are. There's a really strong, youth movement towards the hobby. When people find out that, I work in the hobby and things like that, it's always to them like the coolest thing in the world. They love it. They think it's amazing. So, that's kind of my thing. But my dad and going to the mall, that to the card shop in the mall, don't remember what it was called, was just a random place in the mall, but that's what I remember, buying hockey singles with my dad.
Drew, I know we're talking about our parents, but I know your mom's been having some health issues over the year, and you mentioned your mom. How is she? And I don't get to talk to you often enough. How is she doing?
She's hanging in there. For those that don't watch the show or anything, it's no secret or anything, but my mom does have ALS. And it's progressing pretty rapidly. But she's hanging in there. She's a fighter. But she's still doing okay. It comes in spurts. It'll be fine for a long time, and then a lot of things will go bad, quickly, and then it'll kind of ease off. But luckily she's still there as the same person and everything, just a little different, but she's hanging in there. She's doing well. Thank you for asking, by the way.
You're welcome. The sad thing with ALS is your mind never leaves you. You're still sharp.
Yeah.
I mean, your body fails, but your mind stays sharp. And so at least, you have that. And it's great. 100%. By the way, some of these stories are great in the chat about their fathers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
This is really one that I can really connect to right here. Mike Petty says, my dad told me I was effed in the head when I sent $75 to Larry Fritz for a 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle in 1974. He was right. Larry ripped me off and sent me 3 other cards and a $25 credit. I have a very similar story to that. This was 1979, and a dealer friend of mine here in town bought a collection, and there was a 52 Mantle in there, and I wanted it.
Nice.
He told me it was $1,500, and keep in mind this is 1979. $1,500, and I'm making like $2 an hour working at Big Star grocery store. So I told my dad, I said I was going to buy this car for $1,500, and he told me that I was absolutely out of my mind for spending that kind of money on a baseball card. What is wrong with you, son? So I ended up saving the money. That's a long story I won't get into, but I got the card. I sold it, I think, like 8 years later for $6,000, and used that as a down payment on my very first house. I still wish I had the card now, though.
Hey, look, it was a down payment on your house. You said it was your first house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Still, you made money with the house. It served a very good purpose.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I like Mookie's comment too here. He goes, my dad paid me $2 an hour to wash dishes at his restaurant and let me waste it on 1987 wax packs. I love him anyway.
I think Mookie's from the New York area. Mookie, what restaurant was your dad's?
Yeah, for real.
And I mean, and by the way, I saw Rex posted, thank you for putting us up on the big screen at both your stores. We appreciate that. By the way, Rex's kids are both actively involved in the hobby. And that's great to see. He's creating a succession plan if they both want to come into it. He's got a succession plan. One kid can do one store and the other kid can do the other store.
There you go. Yeah. They don't even have to fight over anything.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just
And-
location.
And I love the story about the kids going around the Denver card shows.
Yes.
You know,
John and them they've got a show coming up next weekend, by the way. Next weekend, Denver Card Shows has a show. Really great show at the Delta Thornton. So definitely go check that out if you're in the Denver area.
and I mean, but it's a true story. I know at the National, there used to be some kids that would go around and discuss, and they'd have paper towels and they'd have the thing and they clean your showcase for $1. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but if they're bringing home a few $100s at the end of the day, that gives them money to really play with.
Yes.
Easy.
And by the way, speaking of, let's. I know we're hopscotching, and I know we should have let Logan do it, but I know we wanted to touch upon this anyway. Let's talk about a couple of things with the National.
Well,
let's do it.
Hold on, Rich. I've got a couple more little stories I've got to tell you guys real quick. First of all, my son is a collector now as well, because I'm sure that I influenced him. When he was born, of course, I'm a NASCAR fan. I put a die-cast NASCAR car in his little crib. So anyway, he's become a collector. He goes to the National with me every year. In fact, there he is. For those of you who don't know who he is, that's my son Tyler, and he's known as Tyler Sports Guy on Instagram. So I don't know if you're following him or not. He has a lot of funny stuff. He kind of goes out there a little bit, but he's a collector. He collects football cards. He loves NASCAR, but his passion to collect is football cards, especially Hall of Famers. So it's fun to go to the National and be with him, and I really, really love that. And then
Tyler's awesome. Love Tyler.
And one more story, Rich. You reminded me of it just a second ago. When I was a kid, my dad worked for Nestle's, so we had all kinds of chocolate, all the time, free samples and everything. He would get me free samples that I could take to school and that I could sell. And I would take those candy bars and I would sell them for $0.05 a piece or 6 for $0.25. And I would take that money and I would go buy baseball cards, thanks to my dad. So that was, so he kind of enabled me there. So I was doing that until the principal put the kibosh on it and told me that I was interfering with all the other, school functions that were going on. People weren't spending any money except with me buying candy bars.
Hey, you were running a business. He should have been thankful that you're running a business.
Yeah.
So now, if you guys are okay, let's go talk about the National. From what I've heard, they put I'm going to use this word. They put the kibosh on allowing dealers to either rent out or lend out their tables to other collectors and other dealers. So I know, Rich, you've got some thoughts on that.
Well, on some level, it's unenforceable. Now, if I take a table and I don't show up, and I actually did that 15 years ago where somebody gave me tables and they were not at the show, that is a violation, and I would agree with taking away those people's tables. But the National is a 6-day marathon as a vendor now. Almost every vendor comes up on Tuesday and you leave on Sunday, and they want you to stay unless there's some really important thing till at least 3:00 on Sunday. I can't do the National by 6 days anymore. I mean, I can do the Dallas Card Show by myself for a simple reason. It's 10 minutes from my house. I know the rhythm. I know who I'm dealing with to a large extent. I don't have it's hard. My wife found out when she walked around a Dallas Card Show, she now says, "Oh, I now know why you tell me you don't want to do anything during Dallas Card Show weekend." She's finally seen the light and says, "I'm not going to bother you if you tell me it's a Dallas Card Show weekend." Having said that, I go up to the show. I know Drew Herndon has some really cool modern stuff that looks great in a showcase. Drew doesn't have a place to set up. I say, "Drew, I will give you a showcase. Share my table with me." or help me with the table and take a showcase as your compensation, because you're going to pay. You're going to be able to pay for your whole trip by the bling you bring out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What is wrong with that? Now,
I don't.
giving your table away is one thing. Having somebody help you to give them a showcase, I think you'll get 11 showcases. If you do nothing but showcases, I think it's 11 showcases at the National. What is wrong with letting somebody use one showcase to help you because you can't deal with the physical exhaustion of doing all 6 days?
Well, I mean, I completely agree with you, and we always got extra space, and we always shared it with like Zion Cases, who works real closely with our company that we work with. We always used to basically share like a massive island, and so I mean that we would fall under that category as well. But I don't understand it because what okay, so obviously those people are selling that part of their table or letting someone else use that part of the table because either they're not going to be there or they don't have use for it. So what? Do they want empty tables? Are they going to take the tables out? Are other people going to get these tables? Are other people going to be allowed to purchase them? Like how what are they going to do with all this stuff? And if they enforce it, like you said, it's going to be very hard to enforce. But unless you make it just blatantly obvious and post on social media that you're coming in for a day and renting out your friend's table, because the NSCC accounts do follow that stuff. But if you don't make it egregious, I just don't see how they're going to be able to enforce it. But I don't see any problem with it whatsoever because all you're doing is getting more people in there to sell stuff, to maybe show off a new product, maybe, provide some type of service that you need for your cards or whatever it is. Like lots of different possibilities. So I see nothing wrong with it. Now, maybe in the corporate area, you say, if you're in the corporate area, it's got to be a corporate style thing, but they already have that rule in place and they do enforce it. So, I mean, I don't get the whole taking away tables type of thing. And I'd like to ask the chat if anyone knows anyone because I've heard this from multiple people, but I haven't got any confirmation on it yet that some people are actually having their tables taken away from them already. Like they've already taken away people's tables. And if anyone knows anyone that has a table that has been taken away, please let me know in the comments because I'd like to know. But yeah, it makes no sense to me. I don't understand it.
Right, and I get and I do get some of what this is. Yeah, it's people were making money.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what I'm saying. But where do you draw the line? That's why I brought up the example of giving you a showcase. I don't think I'm selling you part of my table. You are helping me. I am compensating you for helping me. That is to me a totally legitimate thing.
Now, would they kick you out for that though? Because that's a little different.
Well, yeah, but that's sharing a table. That's still sharing a table.
It is. Yeah, it is.
And that's why I'm saying I don't think this is really a good enforceable rule. Now, the rule I brought up when I did the National in 2008 on a friend of mine's table, and they weren't there and I was, that's enforceable. And to me, that, unless something happened with a family emergency, that is something I won't disagree with. That if the vendor or the owner of the table doesn't show up, yeah, okay, that I will give you that one, but I'm not going to give you the one where my friend takes 2 booths, and he has 2 friends helping him, and each of them get a showcase or 2 to put out stuff. That's a different circumstance, in my opinion.
I just know I'm going to be pissed if I walk the floor and I see like partial islands that are empty because they kick somebody out and no one gets to replace them. Like I don't want to walk the National and see empty tables. There's enough shows where people leave early. Like if people have to leave early because they can't do the whole grind, that's fine. But there should be people that people should be able to replace those people. You know what I mean? And I don't see a problem with people saying, hey, I can't make it, but I got the table, especially with the way the National does it with the stupid raffle auction BS. Like the way that table selection is done in general, I think is ridiculous. So I don't know. I have no problem with it. I think it's ludicrous, but we'll see if they even enforce it. I don't think they will too much, like I said, unless you're just ridiculously egregious about it and really throw it in their face.
Well,
Well-
to me, it's kind of like, I'm sorry, Logan. To me, there was a Dallas card show once where they wanted to try to start enforcing no food brought in from the outside. They do sell
Yeah.
food, and I saw maybe a couple people get stopped, and like if I carry a bag in with
Yeah.
a sandwich, if I stop and get a sandwich at Subway on my way to the show and I put it into my bag, and I get my soda and my chips and I bring it in, or I bring in a sandwich from home or something from home, how do you stop me from doing that? Are you going to check every single bag? I mean, there are, and after about 2 days, they realize this isn't going to work. Let's not do this one again. And
Exactly.
I think it's new people running the national. They're very good. They're very good at promoting. So don't get me wrong.
Great
So
people.
don't get me wrong. But
Great
I think
people.
this is something where I think you set the limit. Hey, if you don't show up, yeah. But if you get help at your table, we're not going to control your help at your table.
No. I agree with you 100%.
Okay. Anyway, I've got to leave for a second. I'll be back. Logan, my wife just called, so I want to see what's up with her.
All right. I'll take you out.
All right. It's the Logan and Drew show. What's up, everybody?
So, yeah. Hey.
What's up, brother?
Logan and Drew after dark.
And I don't know about that. That's probably not anything anyone wants to say.
But you're talking about these tables.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of dealers that have been setting up at the national, consecutively for years. In fact, I know of a couple of guys that have been doing it for over 40 years. And those guys have gotten older. I mean, they were, when I was a kid, to me, they were old, and I've known them a long time.
Right.
So they're getting older. It's getting harder for
now
them.
They're old.
Yes. It's getting harder for them to go to the national. And of course, this one's in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see where those guys would want to, farm out their table so they can keep their table, keep that streak going. And I'm sure that's
there's also just a lot of people that get those tables, the way they make you buy them, and if you want a decent size area, you got to buy a big area. And it's just, if it's too much for you, I see no problem, especially with the overhead that some of these people have that bring in computers and having to pay for the internet there, which is hundreds of dollars. I mean, there's so many other expenses outside of the table just to run the show in general. Recouping some of that to let a guy throw a display case up is nothing, in my opinion. Now, if you're just buying the table and then subletting it out to 10 different people and letting them all set up, I think that's completely different. But, if you're working the show, have a little extra room, and someone wants, like Rich said, and let's say I wanted to throw a display down for a couple of days, I see nothing wrong with that. But whatever.
But something else that's going on along with this is this year, from what I understand, they're limiting the amount of dealer passes that these dealers can have too. So if they've got four or five people that are trying to help them work the table, they have to pay extra for those. They don't get those, and they're limiting the amount. So I don't think you can get more than maybe 2 per table or something. I may be wrong about that.
It's I know that for a fact. It's on a per table basis. I don't know the exact number, but it's how many tables you have. If you have like a full island like type area, you do get more, but it is based and there is a limit, and you do have to pay more for extra.
Yeah, I think that's going to be
100% true, and that's ridiculously stupid.
I totally agree with that as well.
I mean, and again, they're trying.
You should now. If you have 1 or 2 tables, you shouldn't be able to get 15 badges. But if you've got an island, you should be able to have 10 to 12 people so people can have breaks, so people can work on certain days, so people can have a little bit of a freaking rest. Like,
Yeah, 'cause
I
it's a
mean,
grind.
it doesn't matter to them because they're inside the booth. It's not like they're cluttering up the floor. They're literally working in a booth. So, I mean, limiting the dealer passes, that's just another way for them to put some extra money in their pocket, which we knew this was going to happen when the change came over. We knew there'd be little modernized little changes where you get a fee in every chance you get.
And as I said, it's just an endurance contest nowadays, and
Yeah.
that's why, I'm getting to the age. I help is something I'd appreciate, even if it's just going to the friggin' bathroom
I
or
know.
grabbing lunch. I mean, last year at the National, it probably would have taken you 20 minutes to go to the concession counter and back.
Yes.
It's
Now, I will say, I do want to say one thing that 70s Card Show just brought it up. Dealer passes are massively abused. I will 100% agree with you on that. I know countless people that sneak in every single year with dealer passes and then just take it right back off and give it right back to the dealer. I see it happen all the time. We don't do it at our booth, but there's been I've seen it done with hundreds of different people all the time. So dealer passes definitely are abused, but have a better safeguard in place than a lanyard. You know what I mean? There's no reason to have to charge people $75 for more. But it
So
is what it is. I do agree that dealer passes are abused, however, heavily.
and I think, and that's what I'm pointing out. It is a tough thing, but that's why I also say it's somewhat unenforceable, because what is your red line, so to speak? At what point
Yeah.
do you go between helping somebody and you're abusing it? I mean, there were people who would always pay. You'd always see on Net54, and I'm sure on the other chat boards as well. Can you buy? Can I come in and I'll pay you money for a Tuesday pass?
Yeah.
You get the Tuesday pass because then you have first stuff at the room. It is, and to answer Card Hunter's question, and we'll go back to that in a second. Yes, there are bad promoters.
Yes,
There really are bad promoters, and
there
I
are
can vouch
scammy
for
promoters. There are promoters that will 100% steal your money, make you try and pay twice, try and strong arm you. There's some terrible, terrible promoters.
John Keating, remember, I'm 101.
So
I probably have
sure.
all that already.
So, Rich, I'm going to forward you my Adult Diaper Solutions emails because I get them. So that'll help you out.
I bet. Hey, if people follow this chat, I bet you Facebook will send me the ads for it. But by the way, I did notice that in the chat, a couple things. My wife called me. Actually, two of our nieces have had. We can't talk about it publicly, other than say they both had really good news hit in the last 48 hours.
Well, that's wonderful.
So that to me was a wonderful phone call to get in. So
No.
sorry I left the show, but that's good news.
No problem.
And Rex, our prayers are with you. I saw the note about your father, and I know that that's not an easy situation.
Yes, our prayers are with you for sure. So yeah, as far to keep going with the National here, also they announced, I think it was yesterday, that they're going to have trade night, and not only are they going to have trade night, but they are going to have 3 trade nights. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's a great move. I mean, Mike Burkus always used to say, I want to have a 24-hour show at the National. He wanted the National to go basically all night. And obviously that's not plausible.
Hey,
but
those quilting conventions do. The National should.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're adding on the 24th, 25th, or was it the 25th, 26th, 27th? They're adding 5 more hours to the show, basically 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. And not only that, look, they're going to have special hosts, brand experiences, live breaks, exclusive drops, education, entertainment, and way more. So it's not just a trade night. They're going to be having a lot of other things going on at the same time. So what you guys thought on that?
I know
Well,
I'm sorry, Logan. We were in the same hotel, if I remember, last year,
Yes.
and it was enough away from the main drag. They weren't going to shut it down. Wasn't there trade night every night? Wasn't there a trade night every night
There's
in our
something
hotel?
going on every night. Yes. And I think that was true with all the different hotels
Right,
around.
but they tried to shut down some of the trade nights near the show.
Yeah,
Ours
but
was far.
how can you
Ours
do
was
that?
far enough away. They didn't bother to shut it down.
Yeah. I don't know how you can do that. But
I don't
still,
know. Again, I don't know, unless it's something in a hotel policy.
that's true.
This way, at least you have a coordinated event on site. And
Yep.
so it may be more money. It may be more this, but at least it's something on site. So you're keeping the people on your site long, on your premises longer. So that's a positive for them. I mean, I would love to see them do something like that in Chicago. They got plenty of room to do that in Chicago.
Yes, they
that
do.
building,
Yeah.
you can use a different
No,
floor.
they do, and I think it's brilliant on their part because there was already gonna, if they didn't do it, then some company was gonna take advantage and get all the publicity and all the promotion and make some massive trade night those nights anyway. So you might as well keep it under the national umbrella if you're the national, and make it even bigger and better. Like I did see in the comments, wait till they start charging for it separately. That's the thing. You better not start charging for a trade night, because if you do, I guarantee you no one's coming. They will revolt, go right to a hotel, and do it anyway.
Well,
I'm going to be curious to see
Mhm.
if other trade nights try and compete with the Nationals trade night. Um, I, because a lot of the ones in the hotels and stuff are a lot of fun sometimes for the people that go. I go out and see them. I don't really participate in trade nights much, but people go wild in those things, and I don't know if the Nationals going to really let some of the stuff that people are used to fly. And so I could see people trying to compete with them, but I think it's a brilliant move on their part because people are going to do it anyway. So you might as well keep it under the national umbrella.
right. And one of the things about the Dallas Card Show is one of the things I don't like, and this is nothing they can control. We're talking about charging. There are people that come to the trade night. They don't have to pay for parking if they come for trade night. They don't have to pay a show admission if they come for trade night.
Yeah.
And that's taking money out of Kyle Robertson and his team's pocket. And
Yeah.
and if you're paying for the show, then how come the people coming for trade night? Because a lot of the vendors in what they call the Starlight Room, yes, they're paying to be there because that's where trade night. Most of that. So in other words, people are getting to see a decent amount of the show and not having to pay for it.
Yeah.
So I do have some slight objection to not paying for it based on what I see in Dallas, because those people know why should I pay to go to the show and pay for parking when I can go to trade night and not have to pay for any of that. I may not see as much of the show, but I'll see other things, and that's taking money out of the promoter's pocket. So I'm looking at it from that.
Yeah.
By the way, Dallas Card Show is doing fine financially, so don't get me wrong on that.
Yes, they are.
But it's still, to me, that's taking money out of their pocket, and I don't know if that's morally right either. From the people that
I agree. I agree with you.
Yeah.
100%.
Do you think that maybe you'll have to have a credential for the actual daytime show to get into the trade night? You think maybe that may be a possibility? At least that way.
You'll probably have to have a ticket of some sort.
I mean,
I
I
would
would at
think.
least make you buy a day ticket, and then if you want to stay for trade night, that's fine. At least you've paid something. And then the other question is, do you want to still charge people that come at 6:00 at night?
Yeah.
And to me, I don't have a problem with that either. They're coming into your building. If they're coming into your building, that you're using, you have a right to charge them the admission. And so does that mean you're going to have to pay your staff extra money? I mean, I know this sounds strange to say, do you have to pay more money for security then? Do you have to do things for the main room? There are things you may not be thinking about in terms of us that may actually be costing the promoter more money, and therefore they may have to charge something for trade night, which sounds counterintuitive. But if and thank you, Stu, for coming to my synagogue show that we have Memorial Day weekend. If I had, we're not going to have trade night there. That room is not, that facility is not ready for it. But if I had trade night, then I have to have more things, more people. I have to pay security more money, especially in a synagogue with what's going on with world events. I have to do other things. And so you got to charge money some way.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's true. So let's go ahead and go. I've got one more topic that I'd like to talk about real quick. I don't know if anyone saw yesterday, Bo, 1 Million Cubs, he went to an estate sale and he found some cards there. And this is something that we all dream about. He ended up finding a bunch of cards from like the late 60s, 70s, and I think maybe even early 80s. And awesome. He ended up, the cards were $1 a piece. And he ended up buying, I think he spent well over $400, maybe close to $500 in cards. And he picked up some amazing things. Here's a picture of it right here.
That he went. Crazy.
He said that there were, I think, maybe 4 or 5 other people that were, that went in there right when it opened too, right when he went in there. But he picked up some amazing things. He showed everybody yesterday on his, I think it was on Twitter, some of the things that he had picked up. And one of the things he picked up was this card right here.
That's incredible. Oh, wow.
Look at that. That card is an absolute.
See, I'm blind. I haven't seen any of this yet. That's insane.
Yeah, that is absolutely insane. He got that for $1.
That's absolutely incredible.
Wow. So what do you guys think about that? I mean, I know that I dream about finding something like that at a yard sale or an estate sale somewhere. I have never in my life, and I've been to a bunch of yard sales.
Oh yeah, me too.
Never found.
But that's why we do it. That's why we do it, for the thrill and the chase, and to ultimately, even if we don't end up hitting the lotto like that, just look at that collection. I can see, just looking at that stack, I can see 8 to 10 cards that are insanely valuable. That's why we do it. So,
well, and to be honest, there's nothing morally wrong with what he did. It was, this is not, sometimes they set a price. They did not think of getting somebody who knew cards to look and help them.
That's their fault.
It's fair game for whoever came in. And I followed him the last couple. I follow Bo anyway, but the last couple of days I followed the story, and he found out about this because something happened in that hometown with a graduation, and then he was scouting around and looking and said, "Oh, there's an estate sale to go to." Oh, and this looks interesting. And he drove up on a Friday and was one of the 4 people. And he got, and he didn't buy everything good. Other people got good stuff too.
Right.
But he got a lot of really good stuff.
Oh, and, yeah, he did.
And as I said, it was a legitimate, this wasn't like he went to the garage sale and he conned them out of anything. They set the price.
No.
And so there's nothing morally wrong with that.
Now, it is time, like Card Hunter said, it is time to get that stuff authenticated. But, I think I'm pretty sure they're going to do that.
They're on their way to PSA.
Quite a bit of those. And
the Irving and the Payton are on their way to PSA in the very near future.
Yeah, and Bo also knows his stuff very well. So
he did miss 72 football high numbers. I was teasing him about that in his chat this morning.
Yeah, and so there were some 72 baseball high numbers too.
Yeah.
Amazing find, that's for sure, and one I hope to find one day.
But
I stopped everywhere
this
now.
This looked like an original collection. This did not look like.
Oh yeah.
Yes, you should not be selling fake items at any time unless you specifically mention it's fake.
Well,
Yeah.
look
This,
at all
this
the rubber
definitely
bands
looks
in
like
there.
an original collection, so I wouldn't be worried about trimming on something like this.
Right.
No.
No, I would not be worried about it either. And you can tell, you can see all the rubber bands. These cards had rubber bands around them. I mean, it's just amazing to me.
Yeah.
So you
No, I
know
know
they're
it's
legit.
crazy.
So,
No,
yeah.
these were basically packaged up from when they were opened, a lot of them,
Oh yeah.
and just held there. That's amazing.
Yeah, and here's the kicker. He said this was his very first estate sale that he had ever attended.
That's wild. Okay, that's unfair.
That is unfair.
That's
I
just
agree with
not
that.
fair.
I've been to so many. In fact, I work with a guy. I have a friend here in town who does estate sales, and currently, since I am unemployed, I have been helping him on the weekends at estate sales, and he never finds cards. Usually, what happens is the family sees that, oh, hey, there's baseball cards. Let's go ahead and take those because we think they're going to be valuable. Yeah. So they never really even show up at estate sales.
Yeah.
Well, honestly,
Absolutely.
when I was unemployed and I went to estate sales, I rarely saw cards. I've only bought cards at 2 estate sales, and I did fairly well. One time, it was just a cheap $5 lot of junk wax, and the other time, the guy knew what he was doing, but I had a pretty good idea of what I was buying. And one of the things was what I did very well with was buying autographed books at estate sales. The odds are pretty good those are real, especially if they're personalized to somebody, or usually you don't. Those are real, and I did very well with autographed books that I purchased at estate sales.
Yeah.
So I would just look for autographed books, and I found I did very well. In fact, I got a couple of Roger Staubach books for $5 each that way. You can't get Staubach autographs now for less than like $100 each. So that's the type of thing I would pick up at an estate sale.
Well, guys, I'll let you guys continue on the estate sale stuff, but
we're in a quick overtime, but I think I need to get going with my day too.
Yes. Yep. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for spending their Saturday morning with us. I appreciate that, and we all do. Next week on Hobby Hotline, we're going to be on Hobby Palooza. So there's going to be a potpourri of hosts. So watch for that. Also, I think it starts at 10 a.m. Eastern, so it'll be an hour early. So if you guys are looking for us, it's going to be an hour early. So don't oversleep. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Thanks, Rich. Thanks, Drew. I appreciate you guys. And we will see you guys next week.
Yes. Y'all have a good one. Happy Father's Day, guys. And now we exit.
Outro. Hit the outro.